go. All right. Good morning and welcome to Next Gen, February 26, 2021. My name is Tom Reynolds, president of the Reynolds Group, and I will be your host for the next 45 minutes. Next Gen is a peer network founded 20 years ago to support manufacturing, distribution, and technology companies. Our mission is to help business leaders adjust, leverage, and thrive. My background is running manufacturing, software development, new media, and startups. I use this experience to solve marketing problems to create better sales opportunities for clients, not just leads. Helping me today is Linda Feinholz. She is a business growth strategist, coach, and a great friend. Thanks, Linda. We welcome questions. Please mute yourself and use the chat at any time to ask questions. Linda will manage the process and get them answered by Annie right away. Our speaker is Annie Osichik. I don't say it right, but she's going to say it better for me. She is a freshman at the best private university in the country, Stanford, and was the third youngest Forbes 30 under 30 recipient in 2018 at the age of 15. Her topic today is growing up LinkedIn, networking advice from a digital native. Annie, introduce yourself and begin the talk.
Sounds great. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me today. I really appreciate it. And just like Tom said, I'm Annie Stojic. I'm currently a freshman at Stanford, and I have had some experience in a variety of sectors, which I'll talk a little bit about. But this presentation mainly is geared towards how you can basically optimize your connectability, you could say, on LinkedIn. I've been a huge fan of the platform ever since the earliest age you could be on it, which is 14. So, and honestly, there's so many parts of it that are even like hidden secrets that people don't know about. For example, like how the search engine works and where you can put certain keywords to really optimize your profile. So I'll be talking about some of that today. So a little bit about my background. So just like Tom had said, I'm a 2018 Forbes 30 under 30 lister. And actually this year I'm a Forbes board member for the San Francisco area. And I also am an inventor. I have been ever since I was younger. I do have 2 provisional patents on some of my energy innovations. And so that was one of the reasons that Forbes said they noted that, and they thought it was noteworthy, I guess. In 2017, I was named to the National Gallery for America's Young Inventors, and I've had some experiences in academia, corporate, and government. So a little bit of a uniqueness there. And I do have to say that all 3 sectors used the platform actually in similar ways, which is kind of interesting to note. So for the agenda today, at least I plan to talk about why pivoting is necessary. We live in this digital age now with COVID-19, where it's crucial now more than ever to be networking with individuals on means like this with LinkedIn, because it's so hard to have those initial conversations. And LinkedIn is a great starter point to really provide you this opportunity to network with someone. But sometimes we question, when are the right times to make that connection? Is it before we have an event or even meet this person? Is it after we have a conversation with this person? So I'll be talking about some of that. With LinkedIn as well, of course, one of the features is that you can search and find anyone on this platform. But part of the thing is that how do those search results actually rank? So I'll be talking a little bit about why certain people come up higher in the results than others, and also some metrics that you can use for yourself on measuring your success on the platform, and how you can tell that you're successfully engaging with people who you want to be seeing your content. So the main reason why pivoting is necessary, well, definitely for individuals, I think my age, a lot of my friends use LinkedIn mainly because that's how a lot of us do get internships now. In that sense, it does help us by showing visibility on social media. Statistics have shown that 60% of jobs are found through networking and not online. So building those connections is crucial. And LinkedIn is one of the top social media platforms that recruiters use to check candidates. So even though it is important, at least for us, to watch all of our social media platforms in a sense of a professional standpoint, LinkedIn is that main platform that they go to. There are certain sections on LinkedIn that you can really tailor your experience to, in the sense of one of the newer features, which I'll be talking about during this presentation, that LinkedIn has recently added, is a featured section. So towards kind of the top of your page, you can put different, whether it's a featured link or a featured like a post that maybe you had, and you can put those at the top. And so if someone sees your profile, the first couple of things they would see would be your name, your header, and then this featured section. So that's a really helpful thing to draw in your audience. For me personally, I use it to put some examples of some presentations that I've done. And it really helps so people have a sense of what I enjoy talking about, what my experience entails, and different things like that. And then also I'll be talking a little bit about the recommendations section on LinkedIn, as it actually has more weight than you might think. And this is different than endorsements. The endorsements is like when people can, you have different skills and people can rate you on those skills. With the recommendation section, that is where people are actually writing more so like paragraphs about you. And that part actually plays a lot in the search engine. And also it's definitely, I would have to say, during the pandemic, it's easy for a resume to look kind of empty. There are a lot of things going on, and you might wonder how, I don't want to look stagnant. I want to look like I'm still doing things. There are ways to adjust your LinkedIn accordingly to show that you're constantly engaging new skills. You have either a new design of your resume, a new presentation of yourself. There are a lot of things that you can do there. So the first thing I want to touch on is search engine optimization. And basically, in short, this is, for those of you who don't know, this is kind of how, but when you type in a word in the search engine, it's based on, search engine optimization is based on the online content that is created that affects the visibility of a certain website for a specific keyword. So the reason it matters is what's so difficult is, especially when you're on a platform like LinkedIn, you want to make sure that you're showing up in the LinkedIn search engine, but also equally in the Google search engine. And both of those work in two very different ways. So there is a way, though, that you can optimize to become higher up in the search engine results in both cases. A LinkedIn page with more views, for example, will appear higher up in a Google search engine results. So with LinkedIn's specific search engine, there are only a couple parts of a person's profile that actually depends upon where you are placed in the rankings. The key parts are really the about section, the header at the top with the keywords, your experience, and your recommendations. There's no other part of your LinkedIn that is easily searchable in the search engine, which is, honestly, when I found that out, I was quite shocked, because you think, I have all of these accomplishments, I have all these other things that you would think would come up in the search engine, but really, by the way that it is built, it is mainly searching based on your experience and the keywords that are in your about section. So definitely any words that you want someone to search you by, you need to place in like that experience part or that about part. And even if it's in that accomplishment part, it might not be searchable. So that is definitely like an interesting part, when you might have all the information you want on your LinkedIn, but it's all about categorizing it and organizing it in a way that is optimal for people to find you. The other thing, like I had touched on a little bit earlier, was on endorsements. So that part where you have skills at the bottom and people can endorse you, saying, that you are able to, you show this skill effectively. Those have no, like the number of them has no effect in the search engine. You could have so many endorsements and like no recommendations, and you still would come up so low in the search engine. And that's because you have no recommendations. The number of recommendations is so key in determining where you are in those results. So that's kind of something that I don't think necessarily is something you would notice when looking at the platform. And I think that you can kind of leverage that to your advantage to come up higher in the search results. So, but how can you kind of keep your audience engaged, though? Yes, people might want to come out and search for you, but how can you kind of reach out to your audience and branch out farther in that regard? Well, there are certain things that you can do in the sense of keeping your network engaged, or just keeping them informed on what is going on in your professional career. So there are a couple of ways that you can do this. LinkedIn does have, and I have friends who didn't even know this either, has a part where you can post. You can, just like Facebook or other social media platforms, you can put a post, or you could write a short, almost blog post and put it on LinkedIn. And people can react to this, engage with it with likes, comments, etc. And with this part, I think it's important to note that, at least in my opinion, I mainly use it to sometimes even as a check to see if I'm getting the appropriate audience looking at my content. The nice thing about with posting articles or posts on LinkedIn, you can really measure your engagement quite well with those posts. Very specifically, you can tell where individuals worked, where those individuals who viewed your profile, what their job titles are, what geographic location they're from. So there are a lot of different elements here that you can actually really do a very good data analytics process here to really see if you're having the right people engage with your content as what you're expecting. In order for people to really find though your content, or maybe if you want new people outside of your network to find this, you could really look at having certain hashtags or certain tagging in general on your post. For example, I have here on the slide as an example, you see what I follow: artificial intelligence and women in STEM. And so in these two, basically in LinkedIn, something that you can do, and unlike some other platforms, individuals can follow hashtags. So if they want to receive in their feed all of the items that have that hashtag connected to it, they can do. So it's really helpful to be able to branch out outside of your network by putting some hashtags in there. Because you can see here, I'll include in some of my posts women in STEM, and that has 16,000 followers. So 16,000 people are getting my post in their feed at some point. So there's certain parts there that can really help with reaching out beyond your immediate network. I would also say that the unique part of having posts is you can have a lot of engagement through comments. And so with LinkedIn, the more comments you have, every single time that you comment, it reappears in someone's feed. And so just that cyclical reappearing part there can really help to create this constant reappearance of your post, which can help for longer term engagement. If you're not sure what to post, which is sometimes something difficult, maybe you don't know exactly what you want to put, you could start following maybe some companies' pages. And that sometimes can help in the sense that you get an idea of seeing what they post, sometimes engaging with, in my case, I engage with like Stanford's posts. I'll usually try and react to those. And so it really helps to get a sense of what's going on in that network. Sometimes people will see that you like Stanford's post and then they'll try and connect with you. So it's kind of like this process here that you can really utilize to your advantage. So going more into the metrics part, here is a snip I took of a post I did. I think it was back in September. So this is what I was talking about on the data analytics part. So what's so convenient is not only does it tell me how many people have liked, how many people have commented, but I get an idea of how many views there are. And so sometimes you can tell based upon the time of day you post or even the type of content. Maybe this doesn't appeal to my network as much. Maybe I should try posting something more like this. This was, I think, I'm trying to remember, I think it was for like a scholarship or something I think I posted about. So I was able to see the number of views and the number of people who reshared. And then this is what was really interesting to me. So at the time, I was still searching for like internships or like job opportunities. So to get a sense of who's looking at my profile and where they work from was extremely helpful. So in this case, it makes sense because I interned at Aero Electronics, so I have a lot of context there. So it makes sense why they came up at the top. But also seeing that Stanford and these other companies that I've had some sort of connection with was encouraging. At the same time, being a new person to the Bay Area, I was very excited that I had more people from the San Francisco Bay Area looking at my posts. So I think that this can really help guide you in the sense of seeing if your posts are actually attracting the right audience. There also is another thing that I would recommend in the sense of if you are posting like a video, for example, if you have a link to a YouTube video and it's like private or it's unlisted, it's pretty easy after you post it to track the number of views and engagement statistics through YouTube. So there are other parts there with data analytics beyond even LinkedIn, depending upon the content that you post. And that can be really helpful as well. So here's another way. So that was more so for how can you measure the success of articles or posts that you have on LinkedIn. But how can you just measure success of your profile itself? Beyond just like posting, more so like how can I tell who's looking at my profile and this is who I want to look at my profile. So in the LinkedIn, you have a section with your dashboard. And so in this part, it shows you two main things here that can help, which the one is who's viewed your profile, and then the other is your search appearances. So these two are very different things, but you can tailor both to really your advantage. So specifically with the search appearances, this part is really showing the number of times that your profile has appeared in someone's search results on LinkedIn, and usually it's about a week span. So what can be really helpful on this is, and I don't have a snip of it here, but when you click on that search appearances, it shows you the keywords that people typed in order to find you. And so at that point, you can say, okay, why is someone searching this keyword looking for me? This means that I need to adjust the keywords on my profile to fit, or maybe you see that they are searching it properly. And it shows you where some of your top searchers usually work. So it gives you an idea. It turned out this week, I don't know why my search results were up. Normally I do not have this many. So this is just an idea of where you can look to see if the people you expect to be searching you are. For who's viewed your profile, this is where things get a little tricky. I do want to say I completely interact on LinkedIn in a free basis. Like I have never paid for LinkedIn Premium or any of those software, like any of that part on the platform. So everything I'm showing you is like all in free mode, because I know a lot of people have come to me saying, should I be getting premium? I feel like that would show me more search engine results. Honestly, maybe premium's changed since when I did a free trial like a long time ago. I didn't see a ton that, like, in my opinion, makes a big difference on the search engine part. The main difference, you might be able to see some people who viewed your profile in like private mode, but otherwise you pretty much have access to a lot of the same information. So in this case, for who's viewed your profile, normally it shows you like the people, unless they were in private mode. Sometimes individuals can view a profile with like it'll say like a founder in the tech industry or something, and it'll only have like their job title, and that's again the setting that they put. They probably were in premium and wanted to be on private mode, but otherwise you can get a pretty decent sense of who's been viewing your profile. So in this case, what is really cool as well is you can kind of gauge, usually if I, for example, in my case, if I put a post up, my LinkedIn profile views will usually be up. So since I had posted in this past week, my profile views were up this past week. So usually it kind of varies in that sense as well. What can be interesting as well is in the who's viewed your profile section, LinkedIn also has where they can tell you where some of those individuals worked again. For example, in my case, it was interesting. Sometimes I don't know how people find me, but I had like recently to work at U.S. Department of Education. I really don't know exactly why. Maybe it's for something I had in the past. I'm really not sure. But those people viewed it in private mode. But sometimes it's a little bit interesting if someone from an interesting company to me views me and they work at that company. I will usually try and search or to see if I can start following that company. Sometimes then I'm able to engage with their posts more. Maybe someone will then reach out to connect. So it honestly varies in that sense. So I did want to explain a little bit on some strategies for connecting as well. Because as crucial as it is to try and connect with people, sometimes there are even ways you can do it where the odds of them connecting are a little bit more likely. And so the main thing I wanted to emphasize on that is with personal invites. So in my experience with connecting on LinkedIn, And I do have to say a funny story that when I started LinkedIn, when I was like, I think it was about 14, I had accidentally asked to connect with someone on LinkedIn. Like I was like one person, like did the search engine. I typed in their name incorrectly and I clicked on like one person below who I should have clicked on. And now that person is a really good friend of mine, actually. They accepted my LinkedIn invite and now we're really good friends. But long story short, um, personalized invitations can make a difference. So normally LinkedIn will put that default like, hi, so and so, I would like to connect with you. Or it's like a very generic uh, message that gets sent out to the person's email. Normally, like those, I mean, you can tell that someone hasn't really customized it. Maybe then, people might not really pay attention to it as much. But usually in a personalized invite, they give you about 250 characters to be able to explain maybe either how you know the person. Oh, we met at such and such event, and I enjoyed speaking with you, would like to connect. Or if you're networking before the event, oh, we're both attending such and such conference, would like to connect with you hopefully next week at the conference, or something to create this conversation ahead of time. And usually then people will reach out, you have direct messages back and forth, and there can be much more of a conversation there, and the likelihood of them connecting is much greater. The other reason that people might connect more likely is due to mutual connections. So one thing I want to explain is LinkedIn gives you an interesting feature, which I don't know if there's a particular name for it, but it's like first, second, and third level connections. So first level connection, like this first one here, I just took a screenshot from like a recent post I did, like from Harsh Verma. That means I'm directly connected to this individual. So that means that first level means that either I asked to connect or he asked to connect with me. We are definitely linked on LinkedIn. Second level connection means that a connection of yours is connected with this individual, but you are not directly connected to this person. So that means that you have mutual connections. This would be like down here, this individual. I do not know Morgan. Morgan is a machine learning engineer at Intel. I do not know Morgan, but this gives me the opportunity, if I wanted, to reach out to Morgan and try and connect with him, because I could say we have mutual connections of so-and-so. I saw you liked my most recent post, would like to connect. And then this can provide this open channel of connection. Or you could have individuals like third level, which means that you are not connected to this person directly, and no one in your network is connected to this person directly. So this would be like Stephanie, who's listed here. So that's kind of, sometimes it's interesting to see those individuals who show up in your feed. It might be someone you might want to engage with. Then it's an easy way to connect in a personalized invite by saying, I saw you liked my most recent post, would like to connect in the future. And an interesting thing on LinkedIn as well is that companies can also connect, or also can like posts or connect with individuals. So in this case, something I actually hadn't had this until recently, was where I had worked at Aero Electronics. Their one division, their company page, like my post. So that was kind of interesting to see where a company can even engage with posts like that. Sometimes strategies for connecting can also include just even the timing of connecting. So at least I've said from my experiences, and it's a little bit harder, I would say, with COVID situations, but for example, about like a year and a half ago, before pre-pandemic, I attended a conference in Washington, D.C. that was hosted by NVIDIA. And so before I went to this conference, I saw there were a series of individuals' presentations whom I planned to attend. And so I reached out to them and I said, I'm attending this conference, an NVIDIA conference. I'm planning on attending your presentation, would like to connect. And I had a couple individuals come back and respond to me saying, I would love to talk with you after my presentation further about what I had done. And to me, that was really a helpful engagement part, because sometimes, especially in those settings, and now even with Zoom, it's a little bit harder to have that one-on-one conversation after a speaker presents, especially if time doesn't allow. So it can be really helpful to connect with this person ahead of time. You have some way to always reach them, just as quick as a direct message on LinkedIn. So then moving into some best ways to present yourself. This is a little bit more on the visual side of your LinkedIn profile that I wanted to touch on a little bit. And I took a screenshot of how mine looks at the moment, and it always is changing. I always find ways to change it and make it better. But this is something actually that I learned in a class recently. I'm taking a digital e-portfolio class at Stanford. And they talked about how important it is, your profile picture and your background picture, because those two can really show a lot about who you are as a person. And I guess one thing I never thought about was utilizing that background picture space here, which I have at Stanford's campus. But you can really utilize that in a unique way. In the case of a class example that we had, there were two individuals. One was a technical recruiter and one was an educator. And the question that they posed to us was, can you tell who is who? And they only showed us their profile pictures first. And of course, there's no way. Both of them are dressed professionally. There's absolutely no way to tell who's who. But then when they showed us the background picture, the one individual had a picture of him interacting with kids. And then the other one had a picture of just, it was clearly like circuit boards and everything. They clearly were into the tech industry. So that background picture can really show a lot, maybe of like what industry you're in, maybe where you're currently employed. There's like an easy way that you can get a message across, even just by that top picture. Another thing is when kind of displaying your experiences or where you've worked. A key thing that I've found helpful has been utilizing the dividing lines between your experiences. So kind of here where I have Forbes 330 and San Francisco board member, then I have this vertical line to kind of separate. It's an easy way for people to see short blurbs about me, but at the same time, it doesn't seem too packed because they have these vertical lines separating it. And because headers are searchable, as one of the searchable components, it is crucial to include a decent amount in your header space in order for people to actually search by that part. In LinkedIn, there are ways, especially on this right part here with, like, for example, where I have Forbes and Stanford, to show kind of those parts that you want people to know you by if it's like larger companies. And usually I've found in the past that especially ones that have icons, like in this case, it's very helpful, like the logos, is a little bit easier for engagement as well. Additionally, when presenting yourself, especially during COVID, I found it helpful to show that you're constantly active, you're constantly doing things, whether that's through maybe a training you did online, maybe it's a certification program that you went through, just any short, quick things that you can add to your profile to make it better. Maybe it's even in your featured section to show, okay, here is my company website. Just that quick thing showing that, even though COVID's happening, you're still moving forward, you're still doing as much as you can in a virtual capacity. It really helps, in my opinion. So in order to summarize a little bit of some of the key points and key takeaways, I would say, first of all, there are so many tools that you can use on LinkedIn, whether that's from the data analytics and metrics part, in order to tweak your profile, whether that's how to show that you're digitally present by adding certifications or different things. You could add different embedded features. There's so many ways you can make your profile more searchable and more easily accessible for individuals. It's at this point, search engine optimization is important to showcase yourself, not only so you come up in the search engine for Google, but also for LinkedIn, and both have their own parts in that case. In order to grow your network, you could either try, in my opinion, I would recommend sending before a conference or event to some individuals you'd like to talk to at that conference, see if you can get a personalized connection or an invitation there going. And if not, then after the conference, you can try and connect with some individuals. And during the pandemic, everyone seems to be online more. And I would honestly take advantage of that, take advantage of more people being online and more digitally available. So I do want to end on an inspiring note before we go to Q&A. But one of my favorite quotes to remember during the pandemic is from Henry Ford. And he said, when everything seems to be going against you, remember that the airplane takes off against the wind, not with it. And I just think it's a very fulfilling quote for the pandemic times that we live in. So I'm happy to answer any questions. I hope that you all found it helpful and gained something from it. So thank you.
That was great. Go ahead, Linda.
Tom, you've got a heck of an echo going there. Do I have one as well?
Yes, you do. You have a heck of an echo.
We all have one.
It sounds like we're at the stadium getting ready to play a jam, Tom.
Yeah, absolutely. Rock and
Okay.
roll.
I think it calmed down. Yay. Okay, so we're going to have several things. We're going to have hands up. I have comments that were shared in the Q&A. And Annie, I want to tell you, I've paid for LinkedIn classes, and I'll say over the last 5 to 10 years, I've gone through many speakers' presentations, and other people in chat said the same thing as my reaction, which was this was the most productive of any that I've ever had shared with me. So thank you for the information you shared and the realism of it, because everybody says the exact opposite, which is you have to go get the paid version, you have to be premium, you have to use all these search engine features and everything, and you just completely reframed it for all of us. So thank you so much. It's really appreciated. Before I dive into other questions, I have a couple of elements that I just want to reach out to you about. Very often people are trying to create content so they have presence in the threads and LinkedIn and on their page. And, there's this big fad about doing podcasts. Not everybody wants to do a podcast, but it occurs to me that building on what you were sharing about, go find conferences and reach out to the speakers and say, I'd love to speak to you after the conference, and I'd love to interview you. And everybody's gotten so comfortable on Zoom that if you do a one-on-one Zoom interview and record it with their permission, now you have video content that you can load onto LinkedIn that's now tying your identity with their identity, creating content through comfortable conversation. It doesn't have to be studio production. I'd love your thoughts on it.
That is a great idea. I didn't think of it from the podcast angle, but I think that is a really, really great idea to connect with the speaker, find out about their background, but you're really forming a connection there as well beyond just the initial, direct message back and forth, where you're actually able to have this. And I do agree with you. I think people are more flexible on getting on Zoom nowadays. I don't know if, at least in my opinion, pre-pandemic, I feel like I would always have phone calls, but I don't know if I was as much into the video conferencing, but I feel like that is definitely more of an everyday occurrence for people now. I think people are way more open to that. I like that idea a lot. That's a really good idea.
Up till 12 or 10 or 6 months ago, everybody was obsessed with how's my lighting and do I look camera ready and everything. I think people are all over that now, which is fantastic for everyone. You don't have to have a professionally paid podcast and have it up on Apple and all the other podcast sites. You can be creating LinkedIn relevant content and then using, as you said, hashtags and so on. And would you expand just a little bit on the curation side of things, where you go and find a big company's article? What do you do around it when you're going to repost it? I think that would be really helpful for folks who think they have to do all original content.
Of course. Yeah, I would recommend on that. I guess so. It depends upon your line of work, I guess, a little bit too. I'm speaking on more behalf of the side of the tech industry, at least from what I see. A lot of people, especially around my being interesting with the company.
I'm sorry,
we will try and repair it a little bit.
The electronics just broke you up. Can you back up to the beginning of the paragraph you just started?
Yes, no problem. I'm so sorry. Okay. So I would say that especially I'm speaking more so from the tech industry. So I'm not sure exactly for all of your line of work, but at least in my case, I would say that I've found it helpful to be able to take a company's post. Maybe it's for example, a certain sort of circuit board that maybe I worked with in an internship. I can reshare it and say, oh, we were utilizing this technology when I interned at such and such, and this was really crucial for our project. I'm glad to see this has continued innovating or continued progressing or something, just to show that you had some connection to the technology, you utilized the technology, you had some sort of positive experience with it, then maybe even tagging the company. Sometimes you can get some company engagement, or even I have found in my case, employees at that company will find that encouraging because they're the ones who developed it. They'll say, you know, I'm so glad that you found this helpful. And there's this conversation from there. I know in my case, especially for startups, there was like a robot that a place that I had toured in Colorado a while ago, that they are a startup robotic company. And so in that case, I had actually bought one of the robots myself. It's a personalized mini robot. It's basically, the way they designed it is to have more a face that's more interactive and like for human to human contact. And so I had utilized the robot in a unique way that they hadn't seen before. I did it to present an award to one of my educators in our town, and because it was COVID, socially distancing. And so after I posted it, I didn't tell like the company about it at all. I just posted it and tagged them. Their marketing team reached out to me and said, we would love to feature this on our website. Would you give us permission to do that? So even like that helped me in making connections with them. Now their CMO, I ended up actually, long story short, taking a class of hers at Stanford. And then like now we're connected. It's been like just a series of connections there. And I think part of it is because of, thank you, Anita. Yes, Anita did see that. It was for, Anita is one of my, she saw it from the Coca-Cola Scholars Foundation. That was what it was for. But yes, so I think that helped. It just ended up working out, and it was a connection I didn't expect, but it was, again, due to me posting it.
Anita's posed a
LinkedIn.
couple of other questions, which is, do you accept all requests to connect that come through LinkedIn? And I know we all face that, where we're bombarded and you have to read who that person is and decide if you want to connect. What do you find at this point?
Yeah, I think honestly, I hate to say this, but no, I don't. And the main reason is sometimes you don't know someone's intent to connect, especially when they don't have it personalized. Like I usually accept almost all the ones I get that are personalized. If I get an invitation though that's not personalized, and I don't know why this person wants to connect with me, sometimes I'm going to be honest, you got to watch, like if you have fake accounts on LinkedIn. I mean, the last thing anyone wants is to be like cyber attacked. And I sometimes don't know, like if someone doesn't have a profile picture and they have like nothing on there, they have like 3 connections, I'm probably not going to connect with them out of part of the fear that it's a fake account. The other thing is, if someone has mutual connections with me, 8 out of 10 times I'll connect, because it's someone that I know is a friend of a friend then, and there's some sort of connection there. There's some sort of reliability that this person seems to have, good intent. At the same time, I think there are certain people though that like want to reach that 500 plus number. And so for them, that is their sole goal on LinkedIn, and they just want to make sure their network is as big as possible. I think that in those cases, if your goal is strictly numbers, I mean, I guess you could connect with anyone you want and just try and rack up the number super high. But in my opinion, I think it's more important to have valuable connections and people you want to go to and who you trust. And so I think it's more important, not necessarily the number, but who those people are.
Great. Thank you. John, why don't you go ahead and unmute yourself?
Sure. Annie, fantastic job. Thanks you for sharing your expertise. My question relates back to your commentary on the YouTube unlisted videos, because I post stuff on videos when I teach little classes and so forth. So I guess it's kind of a two-parter. Why is it important for it to be private? Or maybe that's not important. Maybe it's okay if it's public, which generates more traffic. I don't really know. So I'm kind of understanding what that has to do with.
Yeah, for sure. I guess so. One thing, the main reason I had said private or unlisted is just so normally I do that to monitor so I kind of have a better idea of how many people have engaged with it based on where I've shared it. So in the case of when I will post like an unlisted or something, and I'll post it only on LinkedIn, I'll get an idea, okay, about like 40 or 50 people watched it just based on my LinkedIn post, and it's not based on it being in my YouTube feed. Personally, I don't like have any subscribers really on YouTube. So I don't really have like a following there. If you have a following there, I think this like logic is completely different, because like you're based on like your subscribers and you have a network on YouTube. I have like no network on YouTube. So for me, it's strictly to take a video link is the only reason I'm using YouTube, and to kind of share it. But I do think if you want more engagement, yeah, public is the way to go. It just, in my case, it's a good way for me to monitor how many people are seeing it based on where I share it.
It's a great way to get at that metric. We're going to go to Robin next, and then Kevin.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. A great presentation. And I have a question where you say to talk about showing that we're continuing to learn and engage. And for example, I go to, like I'm here, and I go to this type of thing, webinars, trainings from groups, both small and large groups I'm specifically connected to, and other ones I just hear about and hop on. So would those sorts of things be stuff you'd post? And where again is it that you would put that? Just as a post? Hey, I attended this, it was really great. Or do you put it down like in like your experiences or something?
That's a great question. I would say that it kind of varies based upon how much of the training you have. So in the sense of, like in my case, I'll give an example. So I did a lot of training virtually recently through the Defense Acquisition University, which is like a group that goes through the Department of Defense. And there was a lot of training I did for work. I put underneath my experience section a specific section that's titled like Defense Acquisition University. And then I have all the courses that I did there. And in the experience section, I'm pretty sure, I'm 99% sure, you can put like PDFs of certificates you received. So you can always like attach any external information there. I found it helpful to put it in the experience part because in my case, I wanted that to be searchable. If it's something that you want people to search by, I would then put it in your experience. But if it's like just attending trainings and maybe you just want to let your network know about it, then I would personally put it as a post. If it's like, oh, in the past month, I was able to attend all of these trainings, and then you could tag the people that you attended the training with. You could, if you want to have conversations with those individuals after the training, that could spark a little bit more of a conversation. So I would recommend, in short, if you want a conversation more out of it, then like I would do a post. But if you are more so trying to make it searchable under your name, then I would put it under your experience. Then you can always do it under both. I mean, it depends.
Great, thank you very much.
Are there any other questions?
You were muted, Linda, I think.
I have a couple of questions.
Great.
Yes.
One of Annie, thank you so much for a great presentation. One of your earlier slides had to do with metrics. It was one right before the dashboard. And I wonder if you could tell us, I don't know where to find my metrics.
Oh, yeah, sure. Do you mean this one or the slide after?
I think it's this one. Yes, this one.
Okay.
Where do I find that?
I will tell you right now. Okay, wait, I will share my screen. That's a positive of Zoom, but let's see here. Okay.
Annie, while you're doing that, a number of people have asked whether you're available for private consults on their LinkedIn profiles.
Of course, yeah, you can always reach out to me anytime. Of course, yes. I can even put my email in the chat. Yes, please feel free to reach out. I don't know if I'm like the 100% expert, but I feel like if I can help, then yes, I would be happy to help. Okay, so here's my LinkedIn. And let's see here. So there are a couple ways that you can check that. One way is if you recently posted, and usually this is in like the past like week or two after you post, you see on this left side here where it says who viewed your profile and then views of post. So you can click on the views of post part, and this takes you, I'll show you another way to get to this after this, but this takes you to all the posts that you have had in the past. Oh, see, I posted about Tom's event today. And all of the items that you have posted about. And what you can do is at that point, there's this part below it that says 1,155 views of your post in the feed. You can go to that, and then that's exactly what I had showed you guys on how the screen looked. The main thing I do want to caution on that is I didn't know actually until yesterday. This this data metric part, like the actual breakout, disappears after I think it's 9 months. So if there's some reason you'd want it after 9 months, you'd want to probably take a screenshot or something.
Okay.
Annie, Thomas has a question too, if Tom Reynolds will let us squeeze
Yes,
another.
sorry.
I had another question, but we
ahead,
can come back to it.
No,
Go
no,
ahead, Kevin.
Kevin, finish up.
So my question is, in terms of posting on LinkedIn, I have a company page and I obviously have my personal profile. Is there any benefit in me posting things on my personal profile in addition to posting on the company page?
That's a good question. I guess it depends upon how you're utilizing your company page. Do you have like a lot of followers, would you say, on your company page? Is that like kind of a place for you?
Well, is 370 a lot? No, not
I
really.
call that a
I got-
lot personally.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. Well, in that case, oh yeah, I have tons.
Okay, yes, I would say, yeah, I guess what I've seen a lot of friends do who have startups, they usually post like on their company page and their personal page. If it's on the company page, then it'll be like, oh, our CEO, oh, our CFO, so and so did a talk recently at so and so. Like sometimes to kind of boost up their
Sure.
own thing. If I guess it depends upon if you feel like your audiences overlap enough where you feel like that they would be interested in both. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Kevin, go ahead. And with your second question, you need to unmute.
Oh, thank you. A lot of us, Annie, use LinkedIn primarily for lead generation. And there are a lot of bots out there that allow you to scale up that effort. And I was wondering if you have any thoughts about that or recommendations.
Yeah. It's a really good question. I don't know if I do. Let me think.
I know there are a lot of people who advise against using the bots because they say that LinkedIn really wants human interaction, not bot.
I was gonna say that too. I mean, at least I'm not a huge fan of bots on LinkedIn as much. I guess I've usually seen bots on like Twitter to like for the purpose of retweeting, but I feel like sometimes it can give you a false perspective of like the engagement on something when you do have a bot. I don't know if that makes sense. I guess sometimes it's a little bit harder than with the metrics to tell if it's like an actual person who's engaging or if it's just a bot that's resharing.
I know of someone who actually had
Yeah,
their
I'm not sure if that answers the
LinkedIn
question.
profile frozen for, I don't know if it's permanent. Last year, it was frozen because LinkedIn picked up that a bot was doing the interaction rather than a human. So,
Wow.
yeah. It's a very real issue. They really don't want people using these mining programs that just automatically send out the same message over and over and over again. So Tom Reynolds, I know you probably can speak to that after this with folks, you know. So.
Sure, absolutely.
I'm looking to see if there's any further questions. And if not, now, Annie, Tom, how are you going to be reposting this? Where would you like her contact information? Do you want it in chat now for folks, or do you want to send it?
Please, Annie, put it in chat real quick. And also, I'm going to send out to everybody who signed up. There are 45 people who signed up. An email once I get this up on my blog with a link to the blog. We'll have the video and the. I don't know if you want to share your slide presentations or if those are copyrighted, but you know you're welcome.
No, that's no problem.
Yeah. So but you should put a copyright on it, by the way, because it's great content and you know, so
Every page.
every page, that's right. But anyway, I'll be resending it out to everybody, and you're also welcome to go to reynoldsgroupweb.com and click on my blog, and you'll see all the talks. This is our 19th talk since COVID started, since April, and I plan to do this once a month, and I hope you all will join us. Annie, you are amazing. You make me proud as a fellow Stanford alumni, and I really appreciate your time. and the fact that you're willing to open yourself up to my friends, because, you know, some of them are really dubious, but no, they're all good people. So anyway, everybody have a great weekend. Thank you so much for joining us. And this concludes All the Best.
Thank you. Take care, everyone.